So when from the age of about 14 to my early 20s, I lived in a neighborhood that looks like this. It was full of acreages, fancy cars, and indoor pools, and all of those things. Christmases, we had tons of wrapped presents, and my stockings were always full and overflowing, and my mom really put a lot of effort into it. But I had this distinct feeling all my life that something really important was missing. And at the age of 16, this is where I lived. This is a Google map. So my house is in the middle, and we had a neighbor who lived off to the right of us. And he was a lucrative plastic surgeon. So one day we trekked across the grass there to have conversation on his balcony. This is me when I was 16. He had a good assessment of how I looked, and he informed me that he could fix the dimple on my nose. This one, right here. Do you see it? See the flaw there that should be surgically helped? No? Well, neither did I. So I was actually quite disgusted by his suggestion. And the awkward silence that followed, and the weird feeling that he had this desperate need for approval set in. What happened the next day was shocking, but not surprising. Because I felt his desperation, his suicide made sense to me. And I couldn't have explained it when I was 16 years old. But the energetic impression of his desperate last days were stamped into my being. I knew it, and I felt it in my body. Now, a lot of us have these energetic stamps. We call them trauma these days. It reminds me of a quote from Bob Marley. He says that some people are so poor, all they have is money. And when I was 16, at the time, I couldn't have known the backstory of my neighbor's life. But I learned 30 years later that he'd always carried a gun in his car, and that he had been fired from his lucrative career as a plastic surgeon from stealing narcotics from the hospital that he worked in. It was soon after that he took his own life. So it's crazy, isn't it? The things that we're ashamed or afraid to talk about, but that we can feel.
This is really an invitation to trust your body as a conduit to truth. So you no longer discard or disown your own intuition, and you can know what's really going on in the world. So I know some of you will say you don't want to see, you don't want to feel all the pain and the agony that's going on in the world. But what that does is it makes you a victim to it. It makes you spiral into this apathy and depression because you don't think you know what to do with it. But you can become an empowered empath rather than one of those that takes on everyone's energy, gets triggered or depressed or lost or confused, and wants to isolate yourself from everybody else. You don't have to do that. Come join me in a spiritual community of other soul searchers and wisdom keepers that are changing the world. Click the link below and watch the 10-minute video that I created about how we actually go about doing that. If you're feeling apathy or depression, or that you're not truly aligned with your true purpose on this planet, this is your nudge to take the next step.